Rex Road wrote a column earlier this week on The Athletic with the headline, College Football Playoff at 24 or NCAA Tournament at 76. Which is worse? We're going to debate that. You can too. 615-737-1025. The Nashville Sounds take on Louisville this evening. First pitch is at 6:15. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Family Leisure and Social Cantina.
for Miami, who legitimately, now I won't say should have won, but could have won the national championship. They could have won it. They had 2 losses to teams that are really competitive. I mean, they're competitive to them in their conference, but maybe they're better than. They shouldn't lose those games. They had 2 games they shouldn't lose. And I feel like for 10 years I've been here, if you lost 2 games you shouldn't lose, you're gone. You're out. But they were good enough to win it. Why does that not stand for basketball and baseball? Because they lose games they shouldn't lose all the time. It's a different sport. They play way more often. Their games are less meaningful than our games. And I do think that we're going to make some of our games maybe less meaningful, less impactful, but they will still matter in the grand scheme of things, especially towards the end of the season. So I'm a fan of 16 to 24 because of what you said, the currency and what we're measured by as coaches. I want to get my team in there as an opportunity. I want my fan base to be engaged. And it's gotten to the point now that if you're not in there, there's no value in a good old bowl game. Let's go play over in this bowl game and let's send out the seniors and let's give them whatever the name of the bowl is. And nobody cares about that anymore. Yeah. We've made it that way. So if we're going to make it that way, we might as well put more in it and get everybody in and let them go play.
That was Kirby Smart talking about potential college football playoff expansion.
That's just asinine what he said.
Go ahead.
It
makes no sense.
Exactly. It's just he's just words. He's just spitting out words. That's all he's doing. It makes no sense because what he's saying is that, you're diluting, which, I mean, I think people knew that in the beginning. Like, the bowl games aren't what they used to be. They're just not, because the field has expanded. But there are still some bowl games that generate, the viewership, that generates the sponsors. Not all of them, but there are still some that people enjoy watching. So for him to say, since we've, if we don't add extra to the college football playoffs, then our season will be obsolete. Bowl games will be obsolete, and that's just not the case. I would tend to believe that if you start adding more, those games will become obsolete. In that case, his thing is he just want more of his teams to get in, and he blatantly said it. I just want more SEC teams to get in, basically. And the Big Ten feels that way, and I'm sure the ACC feels that way. So it has nothing to do with trying to put together a good product. Because if you was putting together a good product, you would not touch the product as it is now.
Willie, any response to Derek?
I completely agree with Derek. It just, when you're trying to figure out which is worse, it's hard to choose. They're both completely objectionable. I guess, is that a word? Does that get a bell?
No,
is that used in the right context?
Yeah, I think
that doesn't get a bell.
Why not?
No,
that doesn't get a
not
bell.
quite up to standard.
No,
I think objectionable is a good enough word.
No.
Well, the bell's already been rung, so
you can't take a ring back.
Yeah. Willie gets credit.
Okay, I'll take the credit. But basketball is a tournament sport. We've all seen AAU tournaments where you played ridiculous amounts. If you played a lot of basketball, you probably played in a tournament. We played 3 games in a day. Forget about, games in 3 straight days. You could do it in basketball. Football is not designed that way. You're not supposed to have a postseason that has 24 teams in it. It's never been designed that way. It's a 1 game per week sport. There's nothing wrong with that. So I get that it's not perfect how they choose who should be in and playing for a national championship, but there's just no way that you should get anywhere close to 24. 16 would be bad. To me, it would be awful. But it's going to go to 16. There's not much you can do about that. But 24 is over the top bad.
To me, the answer is simple. Answering Rex Rote's question in his column on The Athletic, which is worse, a 24-team college football playoff or a 76-team NCAA tournament? To me, the answer is simple. It's a 24-team college football playoff. And I know ahead of the NCAA tournament in March, we spent a lot of time talking about the death of Cinderella and how NIL has widened the gap between the haves and the have-nots, and that there are fewer upsets and fewer double-digit seeds advancing deep into the tournament. But at least in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, there's the chance for a major upset. I mean, I was pacing up and down my street as Siena had a double-digit lead against Duke in the first round. Duke prevailed, but Siena gave Duke all it could handle. That still exists in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. It does not exist at all in college football. I was saying to Derek during the break, people still talk about the time Appalachian State defeated Michigan. That was 20 years ago. Like, Andy Staples of On3 published a 24-team CFP field based on the 2025 season. Let me read to you the projected matchups in this hypothetical field based on last season. The 17 versus 16 matchup, Virginia versus USC, Southern Cal. The 24 versus 9 matchup, North Texas versus Alabama. I can watch that game week 2, and Alabama will win 72-10. I don't need to see that in a playoff game. The 20 versus 13 matchup, Tulane versus Texas, 21 versus 12, Houston versus Miami, 18 versus 15, Arizona versus Utah, 23 versus 10, Iowa State versus Notre Dame, 19 versus 14, Michigan versus Vanderbilt, 22 versus 11, Georgia Tech versus BYU. How many of those games excite you? And what are the chances that the significantly lower seeds pull an upset in that round? What are the chances North Texas beats Alabama? What are the chances Iowa State beats Notre Dame? Like, to me, the thing that expanding both of these tournaments does is it rewards mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
I am a fan of playoff fields being as small as humanly possible. I saw this in the NCAA's news release about the expansion. Quote, the additional bids means 21% of teams have a spot in the NCAA's basketball postseason. Before expansion, championship access for basketball teams was at 18%, the lowest among major team sports. You know what I say? Good. The lower, the better. Not everyone should be invited to compete for a championship. But at least, Willie, in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, although the number of upsets has dwindled over the years, there's still that shot. Again, everybody else enjoyed what Siena was doing against Duke. I hated it. I mean, it worked out for me in the end. But that still exists in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. That does not exist in college football. Like, I may be blanking on something. So those of you who are college football sickos, you can let me know, 615-737-1025. What was like the last major college football upset? Like Appalachian State versus Michigan 20 years ago. I may be missing one that was much more recent. But
Vanderbilt,
I don't.
and are you talking about in bowl games or a championship game?
At any point, regular season.
I mean, you can
Well,
go
there's
back
plenty
to
of, like, we play
Vandy.
underdogs. You look at Chris Sanders' underdog picks, right? There's been a few big upsets.
You
but
say Vandy and Alabama 2 years ago.
That's different though than
right.
I think
Well, Vanderbilt versus Alabama
setting.
is a good choice. Is a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's so like, to me, if the college football playoff expands to 24 teams, teams 20 through 24 are never going to win, ever. Like, it's like, to me, it's just a waste of time.
No, I do agree with you because to me, a lot of this is a war of attrition. Who's going to stay healthier longer? And typically, if you have a deeper team, you can possibly survive a injury to a guy or two. But if you're not one of those teams where, you have that depth, then I can't see you getting far in the college football playoff. In basketball, I've always said, if you're hitting from outside, it doesn't matter who you are. That is hard to beat when someone, and we've seen it year after year, whether it be a good team or not, where if they're shooting lights out from the outside, I don't care how many 5-star guys the other team has, you can't, the 3-point is the equalizer right there. And that happens. There's no 3-pointers in football. Everything's worth the same. So there's no team that's, oh, we do this. And no, it's not going to happen consistently or long enough in the playoffs that you're going to reap the benefits, because that team you play in the first week is going to beat you up, and you're going to beat them up. And then you're going to play a team that's been fresh, and you're going to lose. And you're not going to see that Cinderella thing.
Yeah, this may be more from a traditional standpoint, habits that we have, but I think it also is conducive to the sport. I think you guys have made some examples of why this is, but we don't really watch college football for the quote upset. We especially when it comes to trying to win a national championship. You earn the chance to play for a national championship. In a big tournament like the basketball, it's part of the fun of a tournament where you know that team that wins in a big upset in the first round isn't going to win the tournament. But that's not really why they're in the tournament. They're there to give us that jolt, that ingredient that a great 64-team tournament offers. That's not why you play. That's not why you have a postseason football tournament. Football is not a tournament sport. There's attrition. There's injuries. Nobody wants to see a quarterback get hurt in the first game and really mess up their chances of winning. If it happens in the semifinal, there's nothing you can do about it. But it's not part of why football, how you determine a champion in football. It's not that kind of sport. It's not, let's see how many games we can squeeze in there.
One caller, thankfully, told David James to tell me, I'm sorry for missing this, when Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame early in the season in 2024. That was a huge upset for sure. But again, it's just so rare. And
it happens. It happens from time to time. That's not, but do you guys agree with me? That's not why we have a postseason football determining the champion. That ingredient is never been a part of that. That's not something I'm dying to see. That's not why I want to watch a college football playoff. I want to see the best teams win the championship.
It's never been promoted that way. Whereas March Madness has always been promoted as, that one moment, that one shiny moment. And, any team can be beaten at any given time. So the NCAA has built this, enormous tournament based upon that. You don't build a football playoff based upon one shiny moment. If that one team can upset this team, no, it's not going to happen. It may happen in the season early on, but when you're talking about after you done went through 12 games and your team has been beat up, there is a very small chance that underdog will not win the game.
I mean, and we went through this during the college football playoff this past season, right? With JMU getting into the field and losing huge at Oregon. And that led to another discussion about, hey, should these group of 6 or group of 5 or whatever it is, should those schools have their own tournament? And adding teams to the college football playoff feels a little bit that way. I don't if I'm going to watch a playoff, I don't want to see blowouts. I want to see close games. 6-1-5.
You see the best against the best.
Yeah.